In a world where technology is advancing at the speed of light, one question stands out. Why has the automotive industry largely remained the same? Sure, we've seen the arrival of electric cars, autonomous systems, and new designs. But if we're being realistic, the fundamental changes have come slowly and cautiously. To better understand this, let's take a look at the history of the automotive industry. The first cars, designed in the late 19th century by Carl Benz and Gottlieb Daimler, were simple, primitive machines. Benz's car, known as the Benz Patent Motorwagen, was built in 1886 and traveled at a modest 16 kilometers per hour. It ran on a 4-stroke gasoline engine and signaled a new era for transportation. In the 1900s, companies like Ford pushed the industry forward with the introduction of assembly lines and the Model T. The Model T, affordable and mass-produced, made cars accessible to the public. This not only increased the number of cars on the road, but also shaped the culture of car ownership in society. Over the decades, the automotive industry has seen numerous innovations, from improved safety features, modern designs, and more powerful engines to the emergence of electric and hybrid cars. Gradually, cars became an essential part of everyday life. From the early 1900s to today, cars have continuously evolved. In the 1950s and 60s, there were significant advancements in vehicle design and engine power. By the 80s, electronic and computer systems were introduced, making driving safer and easier. Today, with the rise of electric vehicles, autonomous systems, and internet-connected technologies, we stand on the brink of a new era in the automotive industry. But many of these technologies are still built on the foundational principles of the cars created in the late 19th century. In truth, while today's cars may be more complex and advanced, their core mechanics remain based on the same basic principles that have existed for decades. In the last decade, the innovations we've seen in cars resemble a series of small steps rather than giant leaps. Companies might slightly improve the range of electric vehicles, add a few more features to autonomous systems, and maybe even throw in a bigger or even holographic display inside the car. Even the most advanced cars today are still built on the same old framework from decades ago. Sure, they might be a little faster, a little smarter, and a little more efficient. Why is this progress so slow? Some might argue that safety regulations, consumer trust, and high production costs are the main obstacles. But when we look toward the future, towards the year 2030, we can see that the roadmap has already been drawn. Companies have carefully and strategically planned their innovations, knowing exactly how far they can push the boundaries without disrupting the market too much. The idea of flying cars has been around for years. If we go back to the early 2000s, science fiction movies, animations, and even credible articles about the future imagined a world with flying cars. Many companies have tried to make this dream a reality, but what we got instead were drones, from small toys to advanced military drones. Yet, flying cars remain elusive, and our streets and skies largely unchanged. Instead of focusing on flying cars, companies have chosen to work on improving battery technology, increasing the range of electric vehicles, and developing autonomous systems. Maybe one day, when flying cars finally hit the streets, we can say a real transformation in the automotive industry has happened. Perhaps by 2030, we'll finally see fully autonomous cars on the roads, more optimized electric vehicles, and maybe even flying cars by 2035. And then we have Tesla, a brand often hailed as revolutionary in this industry. Since the launch of the Model S in 2012, Tesla has seen significant changes. Let's take a look at these two generations of cars and see what advancements have been made during this time. As we can see, their latest model, launched recently in 2024, follows the same path we've seen before. The car itself is impressive, faster charging, greater range, and improved autonomous capabilities. But even Tesla, this is a so-called pioneer brand, seems to be following the same pattern: steady, incremental improvements. Maybe that's the reality of automotive technology. A series of calculated steps leading us towards a more connected, efficient, and automated future. But those big revolutionary leaps we've been waiting for are still on the horizon. That said, the evolution of technology we're witnessing could very well transform our world in incredible ways by 2035. Just as I discussed in my previous video about the evolution of AI by 2035, which I highly recommend you check out to get a deeper insight into the future awaiting us. Ultimately, the key question remains: is the automotive industry headed for a massive transformation, or are we still slowly transitioning from one era to the next in a controlled manner? It's a thought-provoking question that certainly deserves more attention and discussion. What's your take?